Choujin X is finally back, and man, I am so happy to see that this series comes back with a banger of a chapter because this chapter focused heavily on the fight choreograph and the battle between Ellie and Ozma versus against these terrorists that's hijacking the plane. On top of that, we get more information about the time skip and how long that we fast forward into the future, which happens to be 11 months from what we last time saw Tokyo, Ellie, and Azuma. And on top of that, too, we see the return of Tokyo towards the end of the chapter. And it seems as if that during the time skip, Tokyo has been a hero to the location where he was training at. And you can also see that because in this whole chapter, there is news articles about Tokyo and his heroism on how he was able to do for the location that he was at. And you see Seto. So Seto either got his legs back or he has some prosthetic legs. Because the way that that picture looked when you see Tokyo and that frog, you see Seto standing there. So he either got some prosthetic legs or he got his legs back because this man was legless. But majority of the chapter, we focus on the airplane scene as two Trojans hijack the airplane. One Trojan's ability is insects and the other ability is kind of similar to Ozma. And then so we see Ozma and Ellie, they go on ahead and they're battling against these two terrorists while they're in the plane with full passengers. So I kind of want to know how the plane size is actually like that big because the fight sequence that you see in this chapter, it was just 100% like you think that they're in like this big giant room where nobody's at. No, they're in actual airplanes and there's full of people there. So while Ozma and Ellie are fighting these Trojans, you got to admire that one, they had a huge growth spurt, and two, they're able to use and control their Trojan powers very effectively, especially Ozma, because Ozma, he had like a little hard time trying to control his Trojan powers and how to like actually use it. But we see him, he's able to master his abilities because as soon as he revealed that, hey, I'm Ozma, we already see that the two terrorist Trojans, they automatically knew like who they are, especially the one who has like the similar ability as like Ozma. His name is Jin. And so while Jin and Ozma are battling, it was just straight Ozma dominating throughout this whole entire fight. He was countering every attack that Jin was throwing at him. And the whole sequence, you just continually seeing the advancement of how Ozma gotten better and better and how he's able to change the surroundings of like the metal or steel around him. And when he revealed himself, he was just like creating. He didn't waste any time. And Jin just automatically started shooting bullets at him. But Ozma was able to reflect it, cut his arms, kick him. But we see Jin is not giving up and they continue on battling. And as they continue on battling, Jin it continuously were just revealing each parts of his body because every time Ozma like cut his arms, it was a gun. And then when he revealed his abdomen, his stomach, it was just many machine guns. And you just see like Ozma just having like bunch of these like suitcases and making them as shields to protect him. And this is in a plane. Like this is in a plane. Like the fight sequence that they're all doing this is in a plane. Like how big is this plane? That's the one thing I just cannot fathom. So after that, Ozma goes on ahead and he beats Jin, and he was able enough to go on ahead and tie him up. And then we focus on Ellie, where Ellie she's fighting against the insect Choujin. And then while she's battling against the insect Choujin thinks that she's a ninja, but in actuality, we see that Ellie embraced her Choujin powers because her Choujin powers is actually thief because she's able to steal the Choujin's powers at will because we were seeing her actually beating up the actual insect Choujin to the point where the insect Choujin had to summon her exoskeleton to protect her from the smoke, which was actually smart. But then we see that Ellie was able to absorb piece of her arm of the exoskeleton and she was able to use it to actually beat her and then actually cut her arm off, which irritated the actual insect Trojan. And then they went out to an all-out brawl. And then we see that Ellie was able enough to actually take and absorb all of her Trojan powers, and then they were able enough to be tied up. So as they're asking them too, like, hey, are you working for Mother? Because apparently it seems that Zora has actually escaped. We see the return of the Snake Chosen because the Snake Chosen has appeared and she actually freed her friends and try to make them get away. And we see them getting away, and as Ellie and Ozma are trying to save the plane, and while the plane is going down, we see someone is with one of the disciples of Sora, like on the backpack. So like this dead or creepy body is in this box and someone is just walking with that body. But when the plane was going down, Ellie and Ozma, they were able to save the plane and save the passengers, and no one wasn't dead. And then we see that the Snake Chosen, the Insect Chosen, and Jin, they were able to escape. And it seems as if that they're all three was working together. And it seems as if that those two Trojans, they was trying to help the Snake Trojan actually escape, because we see wanted signs that she actually escaped, and another Trojan who has a frozen ability, which we actually see later on. So after the rescue, we see that Ellie, she's still being down because Tokyo is somewhere, and she thought that everything will be back to normal. And especially too that she's mad at how the mission turned out because of the fact that they weren't able enough to go on ahead and actually put the criminals to jail. But Ozma was being optimistic and he was just like, hey, at least we saved the passengers. And he told her, like, hey, don't worry about it. I'll do the report. You just go on ahead and rest. And as Ellie is just storming around the city, she goes on ahead and she follows Chandra. As Chandra actually doesn't have his powers anymore. Chandra doesn't have his powers no more. So Chandra, he is scared of Ellie and he's running away, as Ellie is just like, okay, what Sora wants? I know you. You have connections to her. And then Chandra, it reveals to Ellie like, hey, Sora actually abandoned me. I don't work for her. I don't know what she's planning or anything. And Ellie is just like, you're lying, you're lying. And then we see one of the prisoners actually appears, the frozen Trojan, as he goes on ahead and he actually attacked Ellie, and Ellie is just getting beat up. Ellie, it was no match for his frozen ability because Ellie was trapped in this iceberg. And as the Iceman, he's about to go on ahead and kill Ellie, and it revealed that he's actually working with Zora. And he was saying like, hey, if I kill her, maybe your powers will come back, Chandra. As it seems as if that this frozen Trojan, he knows about Chandra and he's actually looking out for him, as Chandra thanks him for saving him. And then so before he even goes on ahead and stick this knife onto Ellie, we see feathers goes on appear and actually stab the guy. And then the guy is just looking around like, who did this? And then we see Tokyo. Tokyo has appeared and he's just like, oh, I'm nobody. And he's just looking at it like, man, I can't believe I'm doing this kind of attitude with a broken leg and crunches. And Ellie is excited to see that Tokyo has finally returned, and the chapter ends as it seems as if that Tokyo and the ice frozen Trojan man is going to do battle. But man, this chapter was just so excited because just seeing how Ellie and Ozma has evolved and how Tokyo has evolved as well, and just seeing how like Ellie and Ozma's ability of their Trojan powers, how much it advanced and how much training they actually were able to do to actually master their abilities. And the fight sequence in the plane was just top of the notch. It was very beautiful. I just can't wait until Choujin X get animated because man, just seeing that fight sequence will be totally badass. But let me know down in the comment section how you guys feel about this chapter, how you guys think, what you guys speculate. And if you guys do like the video, please give this a like, subscribe, and remember, always be decent. This is the Monotone Man, and hope you guys have a wonderful day and be safe out here. Peace.